Hello there. It's 11 o'clock. Welcome, welcome. Hello,
Hi.
welcome. Winelva, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Perfect. Excellent. Welcome, welcome. Hello. So it's 11 o'clock. You might hear some background noise because I'm in a rowdy place this morning. And I'll tell you all more about that in a little bit. Is there a bit of background noise happening? No? Okay. Well, let's start as we normally start. So take a nice comfortable seat, close your eyes and begin to settle in. Take a big, deep breath in through your nose and sigh it out. Another big, deep breath in and release it out. Allow yourself to arrive in your body as you become aware of the temperature and texture of air on your skin, becoming aware of any taste that's present in your mouth. Noticing the smells that are coming to you. Becoming aware of what you see in your mind's eye, lights, colors, shapes. Then noticing the sounds around you, the sounds inside of the room you're in, and the sounds outside of the room you're in. Acknowledge it all and let it be. And take a moment to set your intention for our time together today, holding that intention in your mind's eye. And when you're ready, let it go. Then grab your journal, open your eyes, or open your eyes and grab your journal and come back to this place from wherever it is that you just went. And we're going to take a moment to reflect on how this past week went. Just take a moment to reflect on your morning pages and how they went, reflecting on your artist date, how that went, and how did reading go, with just an emphasis on remembering that when we are doing this reflection, what you want to focus on is, if you didn't do them, what was the resistance? What got in the way? What was more important than your morning pages or your artist date? And then if you did them, what came up for you in that time frame? So I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes here, and I'm just giving you a little time to reflect. 3 minutes, not the 40 that my timer's already set to. So for anyone just joining us, we are reflecting on how our morning pages and our artist date went in our journal. All right. All right. I'd love to hear how your morning pages and your artist date went this week. Who wants to go first? Dee Dee. All right.
Reach for my unmute. Yeah, it was an interesting week. It was a very busy week. I had most every morning I was out the door by 7 or 7:30, which interferes with my normal morning routine of getting up and doing some exercise and all. And so I didn't, there was a couple mornings I did some morning pages. So that kind of put things, and I had evening things almost every night. And so no artist date because I didn't plan it. And so that didn't happen. And I think I realized this one day this weekend, this morning also, I guess I did do morning pages the last 2 days. I realized that I'm just checking it off as a task. Oh, got to do those morning pages. And so just do it without realizing the importance and really taking the time with it. Yeah, so that's what I will say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Twin Elva, will you go next?
Oh, sure. Um, the morning pages are good. I only had a couple of days I missed because I was traveling a little bit. So I feel like they're starting to move from just sort of, I think they're starting to feel more free flowing. I think before maybe it felt more task. Like I know we talked about a separate page for tasks, but I think I still was into just what do I have to do, getting it out of my head, brain dump. But I feel like now it's been a little bit more allowing myself to kind of think about or just allowing other things to kind of come into my consciousness, which has been good. Um, my artist dates I have not scheduled, so they've been sort of haphazard. Like I may have some extra time, and like one day I took a walk by the river here just because I had time between a couple of appointments, but I have not gotten to that place of scheduling yet. So
Thank you so much for that. Sarah.
Yeah. My artist page or my morning pages this week were reflecting on what happened when I didn't listen to my intuition, which is hilarious because all of the weeks before I can see, I mean, multiple, like almost every day, sort of the same thing of like, this feels weird to me. This feels weird to me. And then when that came about to be a thing that got validated, then now my pages have been sort of processing that and being like, that's interesting, you know. So, and then for my artist day, I think I posted about it in Telegram. I literally somebody else had mentioned this. I think it was Saskia. It said something about
It was
climbing
Saskia.
a tree. Yeah. And I had gone out to like get the mail and I literally was just standing next to a tree. I was like, I bet I could climb this. And I got up in there and I sat in there for a little while and someone in another group had posted a meditation that she uses. So I was up there for long enough that I like listened to this meditation and it was it had been stormy, so it was pretty windy and things like that. So really just taking it in as a full sensory experience, like trying not to judge or describe, but just to experience it and observe it.
That is so hard to do, but worth it, yeah. And thank you so much for that, Sarah. And so Monica just said morning pages and artist date went great. However, totally forgot to read the chapter. Totally okay. You're fine. I posted my art date on Telegram. I got scratch paper and played around with it just for fun. No desired outcome, and it was liberating. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Monica. And I can't wait until you have internet and can at home that works well and you can come on with us. And Kelly, whenever you're ready to share, we'll be ready for you. But in the meantime, before we jump into reflections on the chapter, I wanted to share with you kind of what I'm up to this week because it's directly relevant to the Artist Way. So I am doing my first official residency at a place called Art Quest here in Greensboro, and it is attached to a gallery, and the gallery is Green Hill. So this is a residency at Art Quest at Green Hill. It's just kind of a lot of words to get out at one time, but it's really fun. There's a kids space over to the right of me that has like fun stations, painting stations and clay and fibers and paper. And then there's some stations with books, and it's just full. And then there's a really cool gift shop. And right now in the gallery, there's this very cool exhibit called the Paper Hands exhibit. And so it's these huge, bigger than life scale puppets that are just absolutely incredible. So the energy of this space is just really neat, and it's certainly affecting what I'm creating. And I wanted to give you guys a little tour of what I'm up to. I thought it'd be interesting for you. And what I'm naming this collection of pieces that I'm working on is Where the Ink Ran Out. And the reason is, as all of you know, I have been writing morning pages for the past 15 years. And I would say that they're getting stale, or it had been getting stale prior to the breast cancer diagnosis. They were getting pretty stale. And so when I was writing my description of what I wanted this to be about, I was talking about how I wanted to use this residency to create pieces that would reflect what I couldn't say in words any longer. So using color and shapes and movement and mixed media to kind of express what's inside. So when I come in, I installed all my stuff. I brought all my art supplies, and then I get to use whatever I want from them. When I did that, I brought like my journal and some oracle cards, and I start each day with journaling, and then I try to figure out what that overall feeling of the day in my morning pages is, and then I try to express that on canvas. And I decided to do something a little bit different. One was it for a practical, the reason why I did this is one for a practical reason. I decided to do unstretched canvases. And so I had a really big roll of unprimed canvas that my partner happened to have that he gave me, and I rolled it out, cut them to the sizes that I wanted, and then I gessoed and primed the paper. And I wanted there to look like relief in the like the art term relief of like texture through undulation almost in the paper, but it kind of goes along with in Vision to Action. I've been talking about how for me this year, the goal was to have no goals. And I have this feeling of not being stretched in the way that I normally stretch. And I'm still growing. There's lots of growth happening, but I don't have to grow through being stretched. And I've often said you can't paint on an unstretched canvas, and that's not exactly true. So it's kind of me learning that it's time to go through life in an unstretched kind of way as well, is part of that learning that I'm experiencing. So let me give you a tour of what I've been up to. So over here are the first two of the first these are the first 4 that I've done, but this was the first piece. I did these 2 at home. And the reason why I did those first 2 at home, I wanted to see what supplies I thought I might want going into this. I like to have my things. So when I'm painting, I don't want to not have what I want to have. So I was practicing. Now, these 2 paintings were as I was being diagnosed with breast cancer. So what happened was I've got the biopsy instructions, post-biopsy instructions in here. I went through an old journal and tore out, just randomly opened to a page from 2018, and it had a prayer on it that I had written. And it's kind of like a take on the Hail Mary, but for creatives. And so I ripped that out, took a picture of it, and thank God I did, because once I put it on here and paint got on it, it like totally just disintegrated. So after it dried, I went back in and then wrote over top, but that's an actual page from my journal, and that's in here and on the page. And then this one was just kind of like immediately post biopsy and getting the news, and it's clearly very chaotic, and it's because my insides were very chaotic. It really reflects kind of what was going on there. So those first 2 were done pre being in the space. Then I got to the space and I had canvases like this. So they had been primed and they had almost nothing on them. And so I started putting more on them and really looking at my journal and my feelings and what I felt like I couldn't say, and then the things in this space that I wanted to play with. So here we have like some paper that I picked up. I've been thinking about the idea of the red thread that connects us all. And so there's some thread, some embroidering that went in here. And then I was listening to the other day, Glennon Doyle joined Substack. If you're familiar with her, she wrote Untamed. And Elizabeth Gilbert interviewed her. And in that interview, towards the end, she said, "I let my body get in the way of my purpose." It really struck me. So you can't barely read it, but I know what it is. I wrote that quote on this. So this is that piece. And then this one over here is playing with, I want to get really close to kind of show you what I did, but I started playing with some of the things here from them. And so they had ribbons, they had thread that I tried to use as embroidery, but it didn't work. Their embroidery kept getting stuck, the thread just didn't work. It wasn't exactly embroidery thread, but I did still use some of mine. So that's some fun things. And this one, I was reading back, I brought a whole stack of old journals with me, and somewhere I had written something along the lines, this was again back in 2018, like I'm a forward moving being of divine light. And so I wrote that in there, and it's like all of these little bits of wisdom of my past self. I'm collapsing time, but past and present and future is all the same. And I wrote that in there. So that's what that one is. And then these 2 right here, this one has a name and I can't remember what it is. I'm going to have to take the pin down to figure out what I wrote on the back. I don't remember what it is, but oh yes, I do, because I wrote it actually on the piece: bruised, not broken. And feeling just got a lot of bruises on my body right now from some medical stuff, and I feel very strongly like that there's nothing broken, there's nothing wrong. So that is part of that. It reminded me of a bit of a bruise as I was working on it. And then this one is in progress. I thought it was done, but I put it up and I'm like, yeah, that's not done. I don't know what it needs, but it needs something. So, and part of the fun of being a part of a residency is you get exposed to other people and ideas. And so in family night, one of the past artists from this place who did a residency here, her name's Denise Landy. She was like, oh, when I was here, I got a huge roll of canvas and just stapled it to the wall. And I looked at the one of the women who works here was like, I can do that. And she's like, absolutely. She's like, you know, it was like very clear that I can make as big of a mess as I want, although I've been making almost no mess. And so I immediately went to Jerry's and got a huge canvas. And because, well, okay, I'll show you. And so this piece behind me, as I was coming in, and it's slightly crooked, like on the wall, if you can see, but well, here. Okay, so what's so fun about this is as I was coming into work, I was hearing an interview about a gallery owner in North Carolina, and she has an exhibit right now that's called, I think it's called Audacity, but that the word audacity and audacious, just, I had this big canvas in my car and I'm pulling up here and I thought it's like everything that I'm doing in my life right now feels audacious. And this is fierce audacity. And so the way this piece started, what happens is the way I typically work is there's pouring, right? I'm pouring acrylic onto a canvas oftentimes because I'm watering down the acrylic quite a bit so that I can get almost a watercolor feel, like a wash feel with some of the pieces. So I cut the canvas. I bought a pre-primed canvas in this case. I cut it to the dimension I wanted. It was 72. So from the height is 72 inches and it's 9 feet across is what it is. And I came in as soon as I could yesterday and I did the first 3 pour colors yesterday. So I did the more black and the pink and the gold, and I'll take us up a little bit close. And then this morning I came in and all by myself stapled it to the wall, which is why it's crooked. And then I did a little meditation and I kind of felt into the energy of what I wanted to share and what's been coming up in my morning pages and my meditation and life in general. And I've been doing a lot of meditations around the chakras and the energy systems within the body and that flow of energy from the 7th chakra back to the 1st chakra. And so what we have happening here is basically that movement of light from the 7th chakra in the body to the 1st chakra, bringing that energy up. And so that's what this fierce audacity for me is about, is really connecting to that energy. So that's, I just thought it would be really cool for you guys to see, you know, I didn't turn into an artist overnight or the first time I did the Artist Way. It's taken me however many years I've been doing the Artist Way since probably time frame. And, but I feel like and often when I would do the Artist Way, I felt like I was saying I maybe wasn't embracing that I was an artist. And I feel like once I realized something just clicked in the last 3 years, and I feel like I'm an artist. And as soon as I owned that title, doors started to open, the synchronicities, the answered prayers started happening. And this residency is certainly an embodiment of synchronicity and answered prayers. And I do also want to share that anecdotally, I do think the universe, God, spirit, Sorza, the great creator, whatever your word of choice is, works in beautiful and mysterious ways. Last year, I had applied to get an art residency in France, and it would have been that for this summer, and I didn't get it, and I was sad about it. But I didn't let it stop me. I kind of created my own residency this year with the Light Returns. But it also meant I didn't get a really big grant that Greensboro offers artists grants for enrichment. And so I had applied for quite a bit through a grant I had to withdraw from that. Well, I think Spirit was just giving me a little nod because that person who I was working with on the grant walked through, and the residency, walked through the residency, and she's like, oh, where you wanted to apply to, that person who owns the chateau in France that hosts that residency, has done a ton of volunteer work in this space. And she's created these little stations of incredible children's interactive art, basically. And if I had gotten that residency, I wouldn't have been able to go because of what's happening right now. And I think everything happens in its time, as it should. And I didn't have any feeling of sadness as I was talking to this person about it. I had a deep knowing that everything's working out the way it needs to be working out. And so it just was it was a synchronicity, and it might not sound positive, but it was really positive. So it was just that realization of everything in its time, and time, is its own animal. So, okay, that was a lot for this morning. But I want to open it up if anybody has any questions before we dive into the chapter.
Just a quick comment. Just thank you for sharing. Vulnerability, your courage. It's inspiring, and it's helpful for me as I'm not looking to do possibly what some of you are with regard to art. But I know there's ways that I can be creative in my business world and all the other things I do. And just hearing you talk about those things is so helpful for me. It's happening in little micro steps for me. And that's probably okay and what it needs to be. But thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dee Dee. I feel like when I first started The Artist's Way, it happened in micro steps for me too. And it started, and I'm not saying you don't have to become this type of artist by any stretch of the imagination, but it's funny, once the wheels start turning, what happens and what gets unlocked. I think things start moving a little bit more quickly than you expect towards whatever type of creativity you're most drawn to, if you really let yourself, give yourself over to that process. So thank you.
Yeah, I had one comment. You're sharing your story. Thank you. I didn't actually know that background.
Mm.
And it's interesting. I guess if you think about synchronicity, so I don't know if you know, I work in oncology,
I didn't know
and
that.
yeah, I do. And I've been trying to figure out like what that means. And I think the past couple of weeks I've had some experiences that have shown me that this is like a part of a calling of some things I need to do. And so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yep.
Mm.
There
Thank
are no
you.
mistakes. I often wonder why. I've been doing this job for like 6 years, and I often wonder why. So I'm starting to
Mm.
understand a little bit more. So thanks.
Thank you, Dwinelva. Any other questions, thoughts before we dive into chapter? Kelly, do you want to give us an update on your morning pages and art estate?
I do want to say before I do that, like, it's really fun to see you talk about your artwork. Like, I can tell, I don't know, like your joy in your process is contagious, and it's just really fun to see. Like, I feel like that is the best part of art, like sharing it is fun, but the creation and just getting to like come along with your journey is really fun. So thanks for sharing. I will say, I feel like my morning pages went well this week. I never in my entire lifetime have ever considered myself a morning person. I think about all the times that I would be like, I'm going to get up early and work out, and like literally just snooze, 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 and then like somehow sleep in past, like Monica knows, she's known me for a long time. Sleep in past, like even when I should get up to like do other things, like go to work. But I feel like having this space for myself has just been like so impactful for me, and I feel like I'm gonna cry, and I don't even know why all of a sudden, but I think the last 10 years of my life have been so dedicated to being a mom of young children. And like in that process, I so much felt like I lost myself. And then even in my work, it's creative adjacent. So like when you were talking about like naming yourself as an artist and embracing it. Like I've never had the confidence to do that because I think, oh, I'm not a creative. I'm just really good at executing. Give me a problem, give me a business case, give me guest insights. I will come up with a beautiful product for you that solves a problem, but that's not me as an artist. That's me as like a problem solver. So all that to say, I got up 4 days this week at 5:30 or 5:45, which literally never in my entire life have I done that except to catch flights. And it has just been so life-giving to just have some time without my husband, without my kids, and just to like think and think, like sit and think and write and like really reflect on just everything that's going on in my mind. And so feel like I haven't had any issue like coming up with what to write about, because for me, it's like 10 years of not having that space. That's just been like word vomiting onto the page. So I've been loving it. I didn't do it yesterday. And by the time I went to bed, I was really crabby. And I was like, why am I so crabby? And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is what they talked about in the book. I didn't do my morning pages this morning. Yeah, the artist date has definitely been harder for me to fit in. I did this week go out after I had dinner with friends, and it was early and my kids weren't in bed yet. And I was like, oh, I definitely want to avoid bedtime. This is like I'm such a bad mom. I just feel like if it's my night off, I don't want to do bedtime. So like if I have to be out until like 8:30, otherwise I end up getting pulled into snuggles. Which again, that sounds sweet and it is, but like every once in a while I want a night off. So I ended up going to a restaurant by myself, ordering dessert, ordering a glass of wine, and sitting at the bar. And I ended up sitting next to this woman who was in Minneapolis for a conference, and we talked for like 3 hours, and it ended up being just like so fun. She was so like interesting and smart and funny. But I had so much anxiety going into that experience of just like sitting alone. And so one of the things that popped up for me a lot this week was like, what is that fear of being by myself? And like, where is that coming from? And like, how do I just, and I think like deeply, it's just that there's like a discomfort somewhere in myself that I need to figure out, like, where is that coming from? Like, is it insecurity? Is it fear? Is it whatever? So that's kind of been what's been on my mind this week. So that was a lot of talking, sorry, but
And that's great.
I'm loving this experience so much. So thank you for facilitating it and bringing us all together. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it so much. I love hearing that. Now, I would love for you all to, and I'm loving Monica in the cheer section right now. It's so great. Monica, you get the best cheerleader award. I love it. Okay, so week 4 is recovering a sense of integrity. So if you're able to grab your book and grab your journal and just flip through, take a few minutes to look through the week. Even if you missed reading, just take a look at what's interesting. Oh, yeah, it was reading deprivation, wasn't it? Forgot to warn you guys about that. Sorry. I didn't read really this week, so sort of. Should have prepared you all a little bit more for reading deprivation. So sorry. If you didn't do it this week, I want to encourage you to do it next week. Okay, so looking at this past week, what stood out to you about this week?
Can we talk a little bit about reading deprivation? Because just like it says, I'm so resistant to that. But I'm like, I try to find the loophole. I'm like, well, she said you can listen to music. So like an audiobook is basically like music without words. I mean, or without the music part. But like, what's the difference, right? Music has words. I don't know. I talk myself in these circles about like what's allowed or what I need. Like, well, I'm just doing chores. I want like an audiobook on. I really much, when she says reading deprivation, I'm like, fine, I won't physically read anything.
Sarah, what do you think the spirit of reading deprivation is?
That's the part I don't like though.
Yeah, the spirit of reading deprivation would be like, she wants you to create gray space for yourself. And I think it's that space in between is what we're looking for. So we're looking for that period of time where we would normally have the earbuds in, listening to the book or the music or the podcast or whatnot, and creating before you consume is the whole intent behind this. And so you have to allow yourself to get bored and have quiet to hear the thoughts that are happening in your head and what's that programming that's automatically happening back there. And we can't do that if we don't take this with the spirit with which she gave it, which I really think is it's not just no reading in our day and age. Like there's like turn off the Facebook, turn off the Instagram, turn off the noise, the podcast, like give yourself a week of gray space. It's terrifying. It's very scary. Anybody else have thoughts about reading deprivation? Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
I will say this feels very synchronistic because I thought I finished reading the chapter, but apparently I did not. So when you said reading deprivation, I was like, what? Like I really missed something. So apparently I read half the chapter. But I think this just goes back to that, like for myself personally, that fear of being alone. Like I think maybe when I was younger, I didn't always know how to handle all the thoughts that I had when I was alone. And so like having those busyness and like being around other people kind of keeps those at bay, you know, because it's like if there's a big sadness, a big disappointment, a big really anything, I feel like I didn't have the tools to maybe like know how to deal with it. So like being alone / being quiet for me feels very scary. And so it's funny that bubbled up for me this week, even though I didn't even read the whole chapter.
Yeah. Things always happen when they're supposed to, right?
I think some of it is tied up in identity too, in a way, because like I'm a reader, right? Like that's a thing that I do and I talk to other people about, like, hey, this is what I'm reading, and they tell me what they're reading. And I know it's only a week, but part of me is like, I won't get my books in.
But it's just a week. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be taking myself out for a month, right? And now I'm allowed to read. So, but for me, that security blanket is work. And to take myself out of work for a large period of time, who am I without my work? I mean, I think I'm in for a big, like, bat to the head kind of lesson coming up. And we either do it voluntarily or someone does it for us. Someone or something does it for us. It's much better if you do it voluntarily. All right, what else about this week?
I think for me, just and I kind of skimmed, I was going back looking at my highlights, but I, I think overall where I am now is this sense and this feeling of, how do I want to say it? There needs to be some movement. Like, Alicia, you know me for a long time, so like I keep but I think I'm starting to feel like there's something that's inside that needs to happen and that needs to come up. And so I think this reading now is really pushing me to say, what is that? And maybe what your point about creating that gray space can help figure out what's trying to bubble up, because something's trying to bubble up.
Yeah.
Um,
Who else wants to share about this chapter?
That a little bit sounds like the quote on page 85. You may be while experiencing a sense of both bafflement and faith. You're no longer stuck, but you cannot tell where you're going.
yeah.
I feel in that space a lot, Donelva. Like
Mhm.
I know or I've changed in some way, but I don't know what that end thing is yet or exactly what I'm going to do with it. So I feel like I inhabit that middle space of like awareness, but not the thing,
Mhm.
whatever that
Yeah.
is.
I had that underlined too, Sarah. So yeah.
Where she says on page 80, over any considerable period of time, the morning pages perform spiritual chiropractic. They realign our values. If we are to the left or the right of our personal truth, the pages will point out the need for a course adjustment. We will become aware of our drift and correct it, if only to hush the pages up. To thine own self be true. I also like on page 81 where it says the process of identifying a self inevitably involves loss as well as gain. We discover our boundaries, and those boundaries, by definition, separate us from our fellows. As we clarify our perceptions, we lose our misconceptions. As we eliminate ambiguity, we lose illusion as well. We arrive at clarity, and clarity creates change.
I had that highlighted, as well. And when I was mentioning that the morning pages this week seem to be more just checking off a box and not really doing the work. That and something that was talked about a little further down on that page about we learn morning pages learn what we want and ultimately become more willing to make the changes, but not without a tantrum. And I know that I always have some sort of excuse. This kind of goes to the reading deprivation exercise, right? There's always something that I can put out there or do. And I've got, like all of us, very busy schedule, and there's always something to put out there. And I know that I am on that verge of really committing to having that time to really listen. And I know that, and I've done that in other times in my life, but over the last couple of years, I've not done that very well. And I know that I've got to come back to that. And this week, between the morning pages and between reading this chapter, I'm like really realizing that you've got to figure that out. You've got to break through. And I made some notes this morning in my morning pages about maybe some ideas to do that. So some more discovery and exploration. But I have to also remember it's not a micro steps, right? That just came to me when I said it earlier. And it's like, it's okay, Dee Dee, just take one little step towards that and you'll start getting on that path.
Thank you so much for sharing. Um, she talks about, like, you can't work at the job that demands 80 hours a week. You can't rescue a brother who needs to save himself. Like there's so much surrender. And then down the middle of the page, and this is page 82, she says, and what we make of that is often art. People frequently believe the creative life is grounded in fantasy. The more difficult truth is that creativity is grounded in reality. In the particular, the focused, the well-observed, or specifically imagined. As we lose our vagueness about ourself, our values, our life situation, we become available to the moment. It is there in the particular that we contact the creative self. Until we experience the freedom of solitude, we cannot connect authentically. We may be enmeshed, but we are not encountered. Art lies in the moment of encounter. We meet our truth as we meet ourselves. We meet ourselves and we meet our self-expression. We become original because we become something specific, an origin from which work flows. And that just feels really profound to me. And then I liked the quote on page 83, you are your own promised land, your own new frontier. Adventure, it's right inside. To quote the Wizard of Oz, you don't need to go looking further than your own back door. It's because it's inside of you. You know, this chapter is quite a bit about change, and I think that's why she does reading deprivation in conjunction with this particular chapter. And she talks about towards the middle bottom. And can you guys hear me okay? Okay, there's a lot of child noises in the background, so I'm not sure what's coming through and what's not. Okay. She says, you may find yourself feeling volatile and changeable. You are. Be prepared for bursts of tears and of laughter. A certain giddiness may accompany sudden stabs of loss. Think of yourself as an accident victim walking away from the crash. Your old life has crashed and burned. Your new life isn't apparent yet. You may feel yourself to be temporarily without a vehicle. Just keep walking. I also want to talk about if you're feeling like things are changing and moving right now. On page 85, towards the middle of that page, she says, you may feel that this can't keep up. You may long for the time when there was no sense of possibility, when you felt more victimized, when you didn't realize how many small things you could do to improve your own life. It is normal to yearn for some rest when you are moving so rapidly. What you will learn to do is rest in motion, like lying down in a boat. Your morning pages are your boat. They will both lead you forward and give you a place to recuperate from your forward motion. Yeah, can anyone? Yeah.
I need to redefine. Oh, what a sweetie. I need to redefine some of this, right? How do I define rest? Something today that came to me was I care too much sometimes, and I don't want to stop caring, and I don't want to stop caring to the level that I care, but I can care differently. I can redefine what that means, right? In terms of what I do and who I reach out to and the kind of actions I take. And that was one of the things that came out of that. And this rest kind of brought that to mind, that what you just read, because rest for me is like I need to be in my own house. I live by myself, in my own house, in a certain spot with a certain environment, and I need it to be quiet and all these things, right? And I believe I need to redefine rest as well, and that will be helpful in this journey.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. Thank you so much. Want to see, did anybody do the buried dreams exercise? Yeah. What came up, Sarah, for you in that?
I mean, I guess what came up is that these would be a lot of great artist dates, like the different things that I wrote down that either I miss doing or that I like to do. The things that I would never try was an interesting list too. I think some of it is mostly just like a sense of danger for the
Mm.
things that like I admire that other people do it, like climbing Mount Everest or whatever, but like that's not a thing that I'll probably ever do.
Mhm.
So I guess that's what came up, or just that these are things that I could do, even if I'm not.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything come up in the buried dreams exercise? Okay. Well, any final thoughts on chapter 4? All right. If you didn't do reading deprivation, I want to encourage you to do it in the coming week or schedule it into your calendar for another week, but do it. There's so much richness in doing that work. Next week, we are in chapter 5, recovering a sense of possibility. So we're talking about limits, finding the river, the virtue trap, and there's some fun exercises in this one. It's a short reading chapter, but there's stuff you're going to want to journal a lot around in this chapter. So just be on the lookout for that. Now, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the next like month and a half. So I am going to be going on about a month and a half leave of absence, which I've never done. I haven't even taken a full day off probably since 2017. So this is really wildly outside my comfort zone, but all of you are going to be very taken care of during that time. It will be class as usual. What I have done is I have lined up some really incredible facilitators for all of you. So a couple are actually past alumni of this course with me. And some are people I know who have done the Artist Way. So they're going to come and they'll take you through, checking in on how your morning pages went, how your artist date went, and you'll talk about the chapter, of course. But I've asked them each to share a little bit about what their experience was with the Artist Way as well. So you will get kind of their tale of where the Artist Way took them. So what I'm finding is that me taking a forced rest is actually making my business better in some ways, because it's forced me to put some incredible people in front of you. So I'll be here next week, and then I will email out a list of who the guest facilitators are going to be while I'm gone. I'm just finalizing a couple of those, so I'm not going to send it out quite yet, but everything will still continue as usual. The recordings might take a little bit longer to get up, but you'll still be getting those as well. I'll have a friend taking care of that too. So, if you need anything while I'm out, I'm just going to assume that you won't. But what I would love for you all to do is take good care of each other. So please check into Telegram more, check in on that community, share what's coming up with you, be present for each other during that space and time. And yeah, you're really in for a treat is what's going to happen. You're going to be very well taken care of, and I'll be back with you in June. So, any questions about that? No. All right. I would love to hear your takeaways from today. And Heba, since you're on now, can I start with you?
Yes. I think it's just the most inspiring thing for me is you today, is just how you're showing up with everything and how I was here seeing like all your art. It's amazing. And I love how everything happening, it's just reflecting in your pieces. So it's just so inspiring. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you for sharing all of your art. And it's so inspiring. Thank you so much, Alicia. I'm so happy I'm in this round. I'm so happy I'm around you guys. So thank you so much.
So happy you're here too, Heba. Thank you. And Monica just dropped her takeaway in the chat box. She said her takeaway is trust and keep going. Yes, trust and keep going. And Monica, I feel like you're the queen of that already. So yeah. Kelly.
I'm gonna say all things happen in their own time. I feel like you said something along the lines of that when you were talking. This is kind of a joke, but because I read the wrong chapter this week, but it felt very like what I needed this week. So I'm just gonna say like next week I need chapter 4. So I'll let you guys know how that goes.
I love that. I love that so much. All right, Sarah.
To sort of create space for that boredom and what can come from that. I love stuff like this because I believe in that for my kids. Like I do that on purpose for my kids where they'll be bored and I'll be like, good, but not myself.
Yeah, funny how that works, huh? Do as I say, not as I do. Dee Dee, how about you?
Yeah, I need to redefine a couple of things. Yeah, rest and care for others.
Thank you so much. Dwinelva.
I guess what struck me is I think I can create that reading deprivation in so a lot because like that's all every time I have a little break, I'm picking up something, I'm reading something like I can create that reading deprivation throughout the day, right? So that's going to be a focus for me.
Awesome. Well, I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you all next week. Bye.